So a quick one on planning versus planting, and a quick story that hopefully you can visualize. So just picture you're a type A person, you're about to plan a garden, and you want to do the best garden that you can possibly make it. And so you're going to the library, you're getting books, you're watching videos, you're figuring out the best layout or blueprint for the garden. You've also picked the best seeds, the best soil, everything's measured. It's all laid out, so it's maximizing your probability of success. But the time it takes to do all of that, you actually haven't planted any seeds. You haven't gone and done the work yet. And so what you'll find is a bit of hit and miss because you're doing all the dig out, irrigation and all of that. Second option could be someone hasn't done all that work. They haven't done the research. They just bought a bunch of seeds. They've scattered them around the yard. They've got the sprinklers on. Some get watered. Some don't get watered. Some get too much sun. Some too much shade. But just through sheer numbers alone, because they've just thrown the seeds and they've done it early. So they did it, day one, as opposed to waiting a few weeks to get all the rest of the infrastructure in. Just through sheer numbers alone, that garden is more likely to bear fruit than the other one. So sometimes just by sheer volume of output, you can actually maximize your probability of success. Another example of this in a business context could be in sales. Maybe you've got the one salesman, he closes 50% of his calls that he makes, and he makes 20 calls a day, he gets 10 sales. You get someone else who only does 10% of the calls they make convert into sales. Well, you can get similar output to that other, number one salesman by just doing 100 phone calls, because you know that 10% convert, you also get 10 sales. So sometimes through a lack of skill, you can make up with sheer effort and volume. So again, some of the quotes I've heard over the years, it's just to do an unreasonable amount of work. So that it would also be unreasonable that you wouldn't get the results that you're after. So good little analogy there as well for when you're focusing on building a career, doing your study. Just do an unreasonable amount of work so that it would just be unreasonable that you're not going to succeed. And so again, you can make up with effort what you can't do with skill. For more videos like that, like and subscribe.